to be here, not only for meeting old and new friends, but mostly to share with you what has been our experience on collaborating with the municipality of Torres Vedras in Portugal. So our presentation will let you know about what has been done in Portugal, not only in this local level, but I also try to frame what has been done concerning the European Landscape Convention implementation in Portugal, and mostly for you to better understand how this is connected with this local approach. So the title of our presentation is quite a long one, but anyway, it includes the name of this protected area. It's a local protected area of the Serras do Socorro e as Cheiras, so if Virle prefers to call the Graças place instead of the little name, so in this case it's really difficult to translate or even to say in a different language all this big name of this local protected area. So what is mostly interesting for us is to connect this local observatory with the landscape management assessment and how can it influence the decision making. So in Portugal, of course, as all of us, it was in 2000 that we started to heard about the European Landscape Convention, and when we started also to have an idea about what a landscape policy could be. And one of our big contributions for the European Landscape Convention, it started in 2000 as well, but it took almost 4 years to be published, and it was the work that we have done on the national landscape character assessment. So we started by the continental part of our countries. Then we developed also the landscape character assessment in Açores, and unfortunately, as I had the opportunity to share with our colleague from Canarias, only now in Madeira, the other Portuguese island, is starting to set up some approach on this landscape topic. So in 2004, for the first time, we had this landscape character assessment that allowed us to start to work also in different scales. And in 2005, the European Landscape Convention was transcribed into our normative, and it was another interesting step on the 2006, when for the first time the national program for the national policy on spatial planning established a strategic objective for the definition of the national policy for architecture and landscape. Meanwhile, the national policy was started as a working group to be designed. In the municipality of Torres Vedras, they started to be very interested on this landscape approach, and we started to develop for this municipality a landscape study with the intention of designated a local protected area. And we used on this local landscape study the methodology that we also have been developed for the General Directorate of Special Planning in 2009. So it was mostly a methodology to explain how the municipalities could integrate the principles and the concepts of the European Landscape Convention into the master plan. So how to connect the European level into the local special planning process. And finally, and in a way I'm honored to share with you that finally we have a national policy on architecture and landscape in Portugal that has been approved by the national government in 2015. So it is a great opportunity to restart again in the way what we have been studied between 2010 and 2011 in Torres Vedras, and as we can see, The municipality of Torres Vedras is located quite close to Lisbon. It's 40 kilometers northern to Lisbon. It's an interesting municipality from the point of view that it's a mixture between an urban area and a rural area. And in the southern part of the municipality, as you may see on the figure in the middle, there is a small spot. It has around 1,200 hectares where a local protected area has been established. So what we have mostly done in this first landscape study, somewhere in 2010, it was to make the local landscape character assessment, considering both biophysical aspects and cultural aspects. And we started, as most of the landscape studies start, by identifying landscape units. And through these landscape units, we also started to draft the landscape quality objectives. So in 2016, after the local protected area has been designated, it has been the right time to start to develop the landscape observatory. So the main vocation of this landscape observatory is to work as a groundwork, both for planning, promotion and evaluation of the initiatives of these local protected area objectives for them to be achieved, and also to combine initiatives for the conservation of natural and cultural values with the increase of tourism and recreation attractiveness. And this has been sought in a way for promoting the quality of the landscape. So I think that I must also to say that this local protected area is not exactly an outstanding landscape. I mean, it's not a question of preserving or conserving or forbidden some kind of uses. This is mostly an opportunity to start by defining a very specific way of management in order to enhance the landscape quality of this area. So, very much inspired by the methodology that our colleague Claudia Casatella has proposed on his book about landscape indicators and landscape quality assessment. We have started by establishing this methodology, which is most of you already know, the method called as pressure, state and response. So what we want mostly to do is to start by identifying the pressures for the main economic activities on the area, and then we will evaluate how the management can impact on the natural and cultural resources by defining a set of indicators, and we call it the state of this assessment. And afterwards, we will also evaluate the response that the local authorities, both public and private, individual or collective authorities, provided as an answer, as a response to solve or to diminish the pressure that started to produce some kind of negative impact. So this kind of looping allows us to use information, concrete and specific information on the landscape assessment in order to inform and to provide information to be integrated on the decision-making process. Of course that we don't have here enough time to explore all the set of indicators that we are working in, but just for giving you some examples. So we define 6 dimensions for our assessment. We are evaluating, we are measuring different aspects of environment, cultural and also heritage as a whole. The perception and the information that we have been heard a lot of people talking on this important dimension of landscape assessment. So we are also considering some indicators for assessing the perception and information dimension. Also the territorial dimension, so how this landscape management can be combined and can be coherent with the spatial planning instruments. From the economic point of view, of course, it's inevitable, and also from the institutional point of view. So for all of these dimensions, we have more or less 4 times more than this set of indicators, so we just identified some of them as examples. So in each of these dimensions, we are now starting to also to define all the metadata that we should fill in each of them to have a good basis for our assessment. And one of other interesting challenges also from the research point of view is how to combine in the very end, how to combine all these set of indicators to provide us a sort of synthesis indicator as a landscape indicator. So something that can be easily communicated, and of course that it would be much more generic than considering all the 6 dimensions by their own. But anyway, it's also a challenge in terms of research that we would like to experiment and to give some contributions to this kind of landscape assessment methodology. So when we are dealing with a landscape protected area with around 1,300 hectares, we are almost gathering information very much directly from the field. So it's not only a question of statistics, it's not only a question of big scale information, but it's a very interesting way to establish a connection with people, with institutions, and to go very much from the field point of view. What is the meaning of this kind of evaluation and monitoring? So what we expect is every year to have a report on what is going on. So the most important challenge now is to discuss and to coordinate all the information, mostly with the technical staff of the municipality. So they will be mostly the responsible for gathering this information. We are also involving different groups from different universities to collaborate on this process of gathering information. Of course, that each indicator implies a specific methodology, so it's quite a lot of work. So even working in a very local scale, it's an opportunity to go very much deeper on what implies a research effort on it. So we are quite happy on this opportunity, and maybe in 1 year or so we will have much more results to share with you. I will leave now the stage to Carlos Granadas. Carlos Granadas is the representative of the municipality. It's a very interesting partnership also from the university point of view and the municipality perspective. So he will tell a little bit more on the municipality perspective about what is this local protected area and what is all this effort for. Thank you.
Very short, because my English is not very good English, but I will try to explain myself as better as possible. What we are doing since 2014 until now point of state. I'm in the municipality council after before at least 9 months. Now I'm ready to birth, and an observatory I hope will be my childhood, and try to do something good for the landscape protected. What we have done until now, we have an open data map based in Google Maps that anyone can see and contribute with resources. You can mark and points of interest, and you can report problems. This is an opening map, an opening platform, an open source platform that anyone can contribute. In our side, the council side, we try to manage the data and clear the data that anyone can put in the database. We have a project, it's a land art project. It's an exhibition that aims to provide a relationship between the art and nature, harmonizing these two strands. Well, the exhibition sets a spot selected by the community, and it's made by local schools, local elderly university, and local non-profit associations. We try to put in the landscape some of the manufactured arts that we have identified in the territory. It stays here all the year until be degraded by the nature elements, all biodegradable elements. We have a magazine that we publish every year. This is the first edition. You can find us in the link. Have a lot of information about activities, interviews with local partners, local products. It's free distribution. We have impressed about 2,000 exemplars. It's fully supported by the City Council. We have a website in the main domain of City Council website that aggregates lots of information. We have a Facebook too, to try to link with the social media users. This is a lots of recognitions that we have found until today, but I will not explore this matter here. Just a little explanation. Torres Vedras had won a recognition of European Commission in 2015, not so as the related to the local protected landscape, but all the territory. The local protected landscape had his share quote of part to this award, but it started cooperation since 2015 until now with Mollet de Valais in Catalonia, and we hope to share more experiences. And just like Perry started with a regional approach, and now is going to local, we hope in Portugal we start with local and try to get a regional area. And more than speak my bad English, I will try to show us a video. This is a promotional video from the landscape. It's made with local persons. They are not actors because the budget was not so higher. And it's here. Oops. It was working. It's not working now.
It takes your breath away, doesn't it? On the outskirts of Lisbon, in the heart of Portugal's western region, the majestic hills of Serras do Socorro e Archeira rise aloft, a protected landscape area of outstanding natural beauty. The demarcated zone is the object of protection, management and planning initiatives involving the local community. In the midst of the rural beauty of Torres Vedras, this small paradise of 1,223 hectares overlooking the sea is a must-visit for lovers of history, culture and nature. Serras do Socorro e Archeira also comprise the perfect sanctuary for an array of species. The nature lover is a curious animal, an ardent fan of pure air. Always on the move, this species is incapable of living in a constrained environment. The adventure seekers are a commonly seen species at Socorro and Archeira. Riding their bicycles, they are often spotted in search of excitement. Their offspring can also be seen enjoying and exploring Socorro and Archeira. Far from the hustle and bustle of city life, they are free to let their imagination run wild. Walking through these magical hills, visitors feel re-energized every step of the way. Among the remnants of the Napoleonic Wars, the explorers are invited to walk along the Torres Vedras lines. This is fertile ground for the imagination. The surrounding nature takes hold in an open-air museum that recounts stories of bygone times, carried by the wind and the landscape. Here, we are at home. Protected landscape area of Serras do Socorro e Archeira, living life from all angles.